You are receiving a review of Dynasty by Damn Wicked. Damn Wicked and Dynasty. Two of the best things in this room. What are you talking about? What do you mean, man? Are you high? What is wrong with you? KISS Dynasty. 1979, an album that I really like a lot. Some people call it the disco album. This is not a disco album. This is a rock album. Even I Was Made for Lovin' You is a rock song. It's got maybe a little bit of that disco fever going on. It's got a little bit of that disco fever. But it's a rock song. What do you think of the album cover, by the way? I don't know if it's the best KISS album cover. I like it, but it's only because of my nostalgia and my memories this album brought me. This album gives me. The summer of 1979. I always remember I Was Made for Lovin' You on the radio. And that felt really good to me to hear KISS, a big KISS hit on the radio. Not KISS shits, KISS hits. So that was really good to hear. And but the first time I heard this album was actually my friend picked up the 45 record, the vinyl. And he was in his bedroom and he had his window open. Me and my other buddy were outside. And he said, hey, I picked up the 45, the new singles that KISS released for their latest album. You want to hear them? And I'm, shit, yeah, of course, right? We are KISS freaks. I was a KISS freak, the biggest KISS freak. I don't think I knew anyone back then who was a bigger KISS fan than me. I was obsessed. I loved KISS so much. What an important band for me. Like, so important. I love KISS. And you can't unlove them no matter what they do wrong in the future. Crazy Nights. Right? But even that, like, I love KISS so much that I'm open to giving their crappy stuff like X and Sex or You Make Me Rock Hard. Maybe a little better than X and Sex. But you put the X and Sex. But so I'm open to everything that KISS does. I tend to be because I just love them so much, and I have that affiliation, that affinity for KISS. So this album, yeah. So he played Hard Times and he played I Was Made for Lovin' You. I think he played I Was Made for Lovin' You. We were standing outside his bedroom window. He had the window open. I think it was like was it late May? Early June, I think it was something like that, 1980 or 1979. What am I saying? And so he puts on the album, plays it on his stereo, the vinyl. And I Was Made for Lovin' You, and I was a little bit stunned. It's not that it was like egregiously different than KISS. It was somewhat different though. It felt lighter, and Paul wasn't. Usually Paul, when he sings his rock songs, he pushes his voice, right? A lot of power, rasp too. He includes a lot of rasp back then, especially. And I was sort of going, this, like, I wasn't sure what to think, but I'm a KISS fan and kind of like, I allow KISS a lot of leniency, or I did back then. And so I'm just listening to I Was Made for Lovin' You. And not thinking it's the greatest song, not thinking it's bad, but just thinking, I think somewhere in my psyche, I didn't know, couldn't express this in words. Even right now, I'm having a hard time. But I thought I Was Made for Lovin' You felt light. I think that was the initial feeling. I was just feeling it was a little bit light. And so I thought, okay, no judgment. I'm just thinking, yeah, it's a bit light. And then he puts on Hard Times, and I go, oh, yeah, that sort of hit me. Or like, I liked it because it felt like that hard rocking stuff. It felt the attitude was there, the, you know, hard hitting. The drums are impactful. The bass, I love the call and return bass and guitar. Da-da, ba-da, da-da, da, da-da, ba-da, da-da, da, da-da, da-da, da. You know what I mean? Those that know the song will know what I mean. And I really like that. And Ace apparently played the bass on Hard Times. Anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. That's what I've read. And so I liked Hard Times right away. And I didn't mind I Was Made for Loving You, but I did have that little bit of reticence or, you know, I was a bit reluctant because of there's a softness to it. So anyway, that was my first introduction to Dynasty. And then my brother, my older brother, the dumber of Damn Wicked. He's not going to like this if he sees this. The drummer of Damn Wicked, he got the album and it had that poster inside. He pinned that in his bedroom, up on his bedroom wall, the poster. And I think he was a bit dismayed by the album. He thought it was like that KISS were going in too much of a poppy direction and a lighter direction, and he didn't like that. He wanted to, and I think people at school and everything were sort of going, KISS, they're for kids, or, you know, they're sellouts or whatever. So people were acting like they were moving on. They're getting into, you know, the heavier bands or the more hip bands at that time, because during the Dynasty era, KISS sort of lost that coolness factor and that sense of rebellion and, you know, that sort of, aggression that people dig. The people who like hard rock tend to like that aggressiveness, and they sort of lost some of that on Dynasty. But when I got to know Dynasty, of course, I was totally wide open for KISS. I wanted to hear anything that they did. I was in love with KISS. I would have probably liked, well, so much, almost anything they wrote and recorded. Maybe not, as long as they kept in that commercial vein, right? I like the commercialism, the catchy songs that hooked you really quickly. And I think they're great songwriters for the catchy, hooky music that they wrote. So with Dynasty, so when I got to know Dynasty, anyway, here's what I got. So we got Charisma. Yeah, I fell in love with it. Loved it right away. Liked it. That chorus is so cool. And Gene is singing low and deep on the verses. I like the sounds. The production of this album is actually quite good. It's actually probably the clearest, best production. If you're talking about clean production, about clarity in the production, I don't think even probably. I think, yes, absolutely, this is the cleanest production up to this point in their album catalog. Although Ace's solo album was really quite good, and the production, and Paul's was quite good too, pretty good. Ace had the luxury of having Anton Fig, and I think the drums really come through well on that. Not necessarily saying because of Anton Fig, but the whole production team. Like he also had Eddie Kramer, who produced this solo album, and but Gene's and Peter's were not quite as well produced in a way. They got the more old time productions, not as clear, and you know, that fullness that Ace had on his. And I'm not talking about the writing or saying it's better, because you don't necessarily need a great production. There's albums with great productions that are not as good as albums with lesser productions. So I'm just talking about pure clarity. Dynasty had really a lot of clarity. Separation between the bass, the guitars, the drums, and the vocals. Just a nice, where everything sort of kept its own place in the mix. It was mixed well, it was recorded well, so everything sort of blended well. There might be one not detriment, but you might consider the low end on this album not quite as big as some albums like Creatures of the Night that had, you know, a lot of power. It had everything, a great production and a great album. But so that doesn't have that. It doesn't have that low end or that power with the low end. But charisma, like I said, the chorus is beautiful. I love that weird chorus that they sing in the harmonies there. I think that's really cool. Ace does a nice solo in there. Simple, not a lot of notes, but really telling a story, creating a mood. You know, I Was Made for Loving You on the other side. I don't know. It's got the, it doesn't have them ordered like it is on the actual album here. But, so I'm sort of trying to remember exactly how it went. Or was it, yeah, Magic Touch was near the start of the album too, was it? But I Was Made for Loving You. I learned to really love that. And over the summer of 1989, or 1979, sorry about that, I would hear it on the radio and it was just so cool. Like I had these little crushes on these little tighties back then that, you know, I Was Made for Loving You was kind of like a, not romantic, but like, so when the radio was playing with that and these little girls were around, I remember being in this tent and having a stereo playing that one night, you know, maybe 11:30 at night for us young dudes. That was late back then, and it was just a good time, a good vibe. Like, I remember miming the guitar solo, Ace's guitar solo in that, and just thinking it was so cool. So that brings back a lot of good memories. I mean, this whole album does. Anyway, my older brother, the damn wicked drummer, he had the poster that we got in this album, and he put it on his bedroom wall. And then one day, after a couple of months, I look into his bedroom. You can see through the window. It's on the bottom floor. So look into the bedroom and on the wall. And he's painted all their faces like a different hue. Like, I think purple, blue, and, you know, like the white makeup. He painted over that. And I'm just like, what the hell did you do to that? Like, to me, KISS paraphernalia of any sort was so valuable, so important. And when I saw that, I was like, kind of, what the hell are you doing, man? That's blasphemy, right? And he, at that time, was so dismayed with KISS because he was really taken aback from this album. I don't know if at first he was, but I think songs like I Was Made for Loving You, and I know he still doesn't like Dirty Living. So those songs really took him, you know, and he was kind of getting just going away from KISS at that time. He came back to them later and he loves them. He does love them now. I mean, he's loved them the whole time. He just got a bit dismayed with them at that time. Anyway, so that was the sort of thing. I was still totally infatuated with KISS. Well, he's the older brother, 4 years older, and he was sort of moving away from that. You know, he was, even earlier, he was in Zeppelin, into Aerosmith, Queen. So was I, but not to the degree that he was. I was such a big KISS fan, and I also really liked this band a lot. I love this band too. Not like KISS, but I really like them, Cheap Trick, and a couple other, you know, we liked a bit of Ted Nugent. I liked a bit of Ted Nugent. My brother liked Ted Nugent. We loved The Sweet. You know, all these old classic rock bands, right? Zeppelin, Deep Purple, yeah, all that. So anyway, what was I saying? Dirty Living. No. Let's go to Dirty Living. I think it has a really good groove, good sound, like the bass and the guitar, again, they're working in tandem really well. Again, I like Peter's voice, as always. Very cool. It's really got a good mood to it. It's a good song. I think some people really overrate it, but again, it's got a great vibe. So I can't really say that. Just because I tend to be a Paul and Gene guy. That's gonna offend a lot of people. I love Ace too, because Ace brings something beautiful to Kiss, man. He really brought great stuff. And then Peter with his voice. So what the hell? I can't really, who do you pick and choose? I often look at Paul as the greatest member of Kiss because just the amount that he put into it, and the most greatest hard rock songs in Kiss were mostly or primarily written by Paul. Now it's going to offend a lot of people, but I mean, Detroit Rock City, you know what I mean? What are we talking about? Rock Bottom, that was Ace and Paul, but that's Paul making the vocal melody and doing a lot of that. I think Ace wrote the intro. That's his main contribution to that song. Then you got 100,000 Years, Black Diamond. That's Paul. I could go on and on. Love Gun, I Want You, Making Love, Mr. Speed, All American Man. If you like it, I really like that. So anyway, I don't want to get into this mudslinging at one guy against the other, because I think the four of these guys really brought it, all of them together. Let's take a look. We're going to go for Magic Touch. No, let's save that a bit. I'm going to go for, let's go for Sure Know Something. I love Sure Know Something. I think it's great. They say Paul played the bass on that. So that was Paul on the bass. Again, I'm not absolutely sure if it was him, but I read that in a lot of places, and I don't disbelieve it. And Anton Fig, the guy who actually played 90% of the drums on this album, did a great job, man. Look what he does on Hard Times. Hard Times, too, is such a kicker. Beautiful, kicking hard rock song. I love that. Really good, man. And the solo is so cool. Oh, Ace, this is Ace's kind of like, this is the album that Ace really kind of, he stood out on this album. He was doing a great job on this album. He did a great job. Yeah, Hard Times, I love it. And Save Your Love. I love Save Your Love. That's great. Man, that cool verse that Ace is, he's just singing coolly. Then it's over now, when he hits the high notes there, and then rips into the chorus. The guitar solo in Save Your Love is great. Great, man. Beautiful building. Again, simple, but really well crafted. Like, holy shit, man. Sometimes, yeah, Ace, man, and like the guitar solos, a lot of them, man, are, wow. I love them. They're not like, it's not like a special physical, technical ability, like in a physical, athletic way. But it's really, some of it's really good, man. A lot of it's really good. And so, yeah, Save Your Love, I'm a big fan of. X-Ray Eyes, I know a lot of people might not like this. I love X-Ray Eyes. I like that a lot. A lot. I think it's cool. I love Gene's voice, too. I just think it's cool, and it's kind of unique. You don't hear that down, down. I should get my guitar again. So yeah, you don't get this, who else does sort of like this? Holy shit, am I ever out of tune? I just tuned this thing a few minutes ago. It's out of tune. I'm just a bit buzzed, not really drunk. By the way, before I pressed record for this video, I felt like I had to really go to the bathroom for a whiz. But I figured if I had to go to the bathroom, I would get this thing done quicker. I would be more succinct, more to the point, more abbreviated. But the actual fact that I feel the pressure in my bladder, in my urethra, Franklin, Aretha Franklin. Urethra. Anyway, this is all making it harder to... Maybe I should take a break and I'll be right back. Oh, so good. Ah, what a relief. My nocturnal intermission. That was great. Now I could calm down, take it easy, and not be in such a rush to get this done. Ah, pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Remember that commercial? Was that in the 70s or the 80s? I think that was the late 70s. So, I'm back. I'm relieved. And I'm going to bring more pain and less pleasure to you guys. So, as I said, X-ray eyes, I really like that. I really like it. Lots of things to love about that. And I think Gene might play the guitar in that, the rhythm guitar. I thought I read that. I'm not sure. So we got 2000 Man. What a cover that Ace did of that, eh? If you've heard the Rolling Stones version of that, he changed it a lot. I don't know if it was all Ace's doing. I don't know if he had help with that. But whatever the case, he made it kind of like a... Not punk. I don't want to say punk because it's not punk. It's just a good hard rockin' cover. The Rolling Stones, it's nothing like that. It doesn't sound anything like that. I think Ace really lifted that song. He made it his own, and it's really good. And I think Ace played the bass on that song too, on the album. And the solos are pretty good. They're not bad. Then what do we got? Geez, did I go through the whole thing? Yeah, so I think I did cover the whole gamut here. The whole gamut. I like the silverish tint to this grayish silver color to the album. I don't know if the guys look great on the album cover. I'm not sure if I prefer them to look a little bit more mystical. You know, a little bit more mystique and a little bit, I'm not sure how Peter looks. Ace doesn't look that great either. Gene, I'm not sure either about. But in any case, that doesn't matter. You know, I have great memories of this. And when I look at it, I'm just trying to look at it objectively, you know, from this future lens that I look at it through. Back then, I would make no judgment about KISS, but there's nothing wrong with judging anything because things have to be judged. We judge all the time. We judge everything. We have to judge what's not right and wrong because I don't know if there is a true right and wrong. It's all opinion, right? All my opinion of this album is just opinion. It's not objective. Nothing is objective, really. Not truly. Ultimately, nothing is really objective. I don't think. I'm not going to think about it right now because I'm not in the mood for thinking. This video is not about thinking. It's about feeling, right? I'm giving my opinions on it, my feelings. So Vinny Poncia, anyway, he was the producer of this album and he worked closely with Paul. So I think Paul had some he had a hand in that. And as a matter of fact, Paul and Gene always sort of had their hand in everything, except Gene didn't, you know, in the early 80s, mid 80s, I should say, 84 to about 89, was it? 80, yeah, around 89, he was not so actively involved in every single musical aspect of the band, and probably not a lot of the business too at times. Oh, another thing I should mention is Paul played the lead guitar on Sure Know Something. It's a very nice little lead that he plays on there. That's a good thing too. And geez, I'm looking at this right now. I didn't know this, or I forgot about it. I always think I know everything about KISS, but he played the bass on Magic Touch. and sure knows something. Yeah, it's saying it on Wikipedia. Who knows if Wikipedia could be wrong? I mean, there's always room for error, but apparently, I'm pretty sure they checked their sources, and I think that's right. I think I've heard that before anyway, quite a bit, come to think of it. And Peter, all he did was vocals and drums on Dirty Livin'. And Peter wrote Dirty Livin' with Stan Penridge. So the main music of Dirty Livin' was written by Stan Penridge because Peter doesn't play an instrument, a musical instrument, which Gene Simmons said recently. Peter doesn't play a... What he means is he doesn't play a melodic instrument, and that is actually correct. But if you look at drums, yeah, of course they have notes, but no one's tuning every drum to, to play like hit an A here because we're playing in the key of A. So you got to have the, if it's A major, you got an A, a B, a C sharp, a D. No, an E. Anyway, that's not what he's talking about. The problem with speaking and language is there's a lot of nuance, and it's like you got to be perfectly saying everything. Like you got to express everything perfectly so people don't take what you're saying out of context. But Gene is actually right what he's trying to say, and that Peter doesn't play an instrument. And that's why Peter can't write a song all alone. He needs help. He needs someone who does play an instrument. So anyway, Dirty Livin', Stan Penridge did the music. But with the music that you hear on the album, that's not Stan Penridge. That's the people, that's KISS coming in. That's Anton Fig figuring out, what do you want on the drums? And of course, the producer or KISS, Paul, Gene, Ace, saying, well, it's probably not Ace because he wasn't involved with too many other songs on this album except his own. And the solos, the guitar solos. So yeah, like Stan Penridge did that, but Gene and Paul and probably Vinnie Poncia came in there and they said, okay, the bass line has to be this. There's a guitar lick here. Ace, do something. Here, do this simple guitar lick. That sounds good. Ace, let's put that in. And then, the rhythm guitar. I'm sure a lot of that stuff was modified or totally changed or totally created by Gene, Paul, and the other people behind the scenes, whether it's Vinnie Poncia or some people we don't even know. Just as Baby Driver, Stan Penridge wrote that with Peter Criss, and that was all redone by Gene and Paul too. The bass line, that's Gene coming up with that. So when you say this guy's the writer of the song, it's not always that black and white where, okay, that would not be the song. If we heard the demos of Dirty Livin' or Baby Driver, you wouldn't be hearing what you're hearing on the KISS albums. You wouldn't hear all that, the musical input, the riffs, and all the, how the song was brought further. And you could write a good song, but you could better a good song, or a bad song, whatever. You could always improve a song by creating good instrumentation, good arrangements, slight changes to the melody or big changes, background vocals, additional instrumental input, all kinds of things. So I think that's what happened with Dirty Livin'. I know it sounds like I'm taking a shot at Peter, but just factually, that Peter he's not a guy who does it himself. He's a guy who needs other people, their input, and maybe a lot of input. Yeah, and so another thing, Gene, he didn't play the bass on Magic Touch. That was Paul. Hard Times, that was Ace on the bass. 2000 Man, that was Ace on the bass. Sure Knows Something was Paul on the bass, and Save Your Love was Ace on the bass. I like that little bass lick that Ace puts in Save Your Love on the verse. I don't know if you know what I mean, but if you know, you know. So Anton Fig was a great addition to this album. His drum playing on here is great. Peter in the early days was really good. The first 3 albums, especially, particularly. So the 4 original members of KISS did a really good job on this album, on Dynasty, and also along with the KISS members, so did Anton Fig. He really helped out a lot with that. And I would rate this album, I'm going to give Dynasty a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a very good album. 7.5 is a very good mark, by the way. Some fans won't think that's a very good mark. They'll think it's kind of an average mark. It's not. An average mark would be maybe a 6. But this is above average. I think it's a really good album. I do not think it's among the very best of KISS. But I do think it was quite a good album. And it's not a disco album. It's a rock album. Come on, man. What is wrong with you people? Smarten up. Do I have to come through the screen and... Do I have to do a Joe Frazier on you? A Mike Tyson? A Lennox Lewis? A Vitaly Klitschko? A Vladimir Klitschko? A Manny Pacquiao? Ricardo Mayorga on you? That guy was nuts, right? Anyway, good album. Lots of good songs. I don't know if I'm overrating it at 7.5. I don't know if I'm underrating it. It's all opinion. My opinion could change if I really, really inspect it and, top to bottom and really calculate, try to rationalize everything. I might come up with a different number. I might come up with a 6.5. I might come up with an 8.5 for this album. But it is a good album. It holds very good memories for me. So I like it. I love it. Actually, I really do like it, or I do love it. It's a very important album for me. So thank you, KISS, for KISS Dynasty. And tell me in the comments what you think of this album. Do you think KISS Dynasty was a good album, not so good, or a great album? Give your rating of it too, out of a 10. Do you give it a 6.5? Do you give it a 4.5? Do you give it a 9.5 or a 9 or 10 or whatever? So thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs down if you hate the video. Give it a thumbs down if you totally disagree with me. And give it a thumbs up. Give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We appreciate that. I appreciate it. We'll bring you more videos. We'll bring you more rock and roll opinions. Just opinions. Nothing more. Nothing more than opinions. Nothing more than opinions. Thank you for watching. Once again, rock and roll all night, party every day, afternoon, particularly in the evenings, in the middle of the night. And if you are nocturnal, even better. But if you want to rock and roll in the morning and party in the morning, do that if it suits you also. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Comment only if you want to. I appreciate it with all my heart. I've got a heart on for every one of you. Thank you.